What's up, guys? Today's video is all about Riley Green and his debut major label album, Different Round Here.
There was this girl, drink in her hand, shoot me.
Now, first off, I want to say I know that there is a lot of music out there to review right now. Like, I'm drowning in it. We got Jon Pardi's new album today, and it's awesome. We got Whiskey Myers, Sturgill Simpson. Zach Brown had to go and drop his debut solo pop album, which is a mess and a half. I'm trying to review Ken Burns' new music documentary. I still haven't gotten to some of the old albums from August. I'm visiting my folks. Like, there's a lot to talk about in country music right now, and I'm trying to get to it all. And I appreciate you guys being patient with me, just like you've been with this Riley Green review, because I know it's coming a little bit late. So, if you love the channel and you love country music, I'd appreciate you liking the video, hitting subscribe, hitting the bell. We're really growing right now, and it's just encouraging. You know, I took the leap this summer to make this channel the full-time gig, and it's kind of working. I'm thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for the people on Patreon. I'm just thankful. I also think it's kind of cool that, you know, if you're one of the people like me, and a lot of you guys are, that have been hemming and hawing and frustrated by the sound of country music for the past decade, this is our time. This is our fall. Like, every single big band and big cool act that's in the mainstream, not like random little guys in Kentucky, and I love those random little guys, but I'm talking big artists that are on major labels are putting out these kind of neo-traditional songs. It's like, I just watched that Ken Burns documentary. We're back in the neo-traditional movement. It's like when we had Randy Travis come onto the scene and George Strait. I mean, stuff like Midland, stuff like Jon Pardi, Luke Combs, Riley Green, Runaway June. Like, this sound is kind of coming back. And I just feel like this is a really exciting, cool time for mainstream country music. But let's talk about Riley Green. Riley is our Alabama boy. He's had, you know, one big hit on radio. It was called There Was This Girl. And now the pseudo follow-up to that song, I Wish Grandpa's Never Died,
I wish cars had truck bed, and every road was named Copperhead.
is becoming a huge hit in its own right. Riley's got a ton of buzz around him. He's like, you know, just seen as cool and neo-traditional by a lot of the country bro crowd. He's seen as like a big hunk by a lot of the female country crowd. And for the most part, his sound is really good and is bringing people right back into the 90s country sound.
If I know her, she sure ain't thinking about me.
He's released a number of EPs over the years, and now he's got his debut major label album called Different Round Here, which actually only features 3 songs that haven't been released otherwise in his career. I would say that Different Round Here is a good, not great album. And now I think there are elements of it that are absolutely great. I think the sound of it is such a standout to me. I mean, you put this album on. I'm acting like I put a CD into my drive. Who has done that in the last 5 years? When you play this album by clicking on your phone, you really hear a throwback 90s country sound that is very, very steel prominent, that has a lot of Telecaster riffs. It's not so fiddly. We're not getting this kind of Bakersfield vibe that Jon Pardi is doing, but we are getting a ton of steel and a ton of guitar, and that's really kind of the 2 prominent instruments on this record. And it's so cool. I mean, he's got a thick twang. This album feels country, and it feels kind of classic in its country sound. I think Riley has a good voice, and I think he's actually good at delivering songs. He doesn't just sing them. I feel like he delivers them, and he's really good at a dramatic pause. There's a lot of his songs where it uses this effect of him kind of being silent for a second and then coming in with some interesting expression.
And I wish Grandpa's never died.
I think the producers of this record deserve a lot of credit. That's executive producer Jimmy Harnon and producer Dan Huff. I think they, together with Riley, have made something that sounds really cohesive, that does evoke the 90s, that does have a really strong, just kind of like solid sound. That's how I would describe this record. Now, whereas solid is a major compliment when it comes to the sonics of this record, it's only half a compliment when it comes to the lyrics of this record. And I think the biggest criticism that I can give toward this record is just that it feels extremely one note from a lyrical standpoint. This is a lot of songs about how much Riley loves where he's from, about how great the South is, about how much he loves his town and having beer and riding in trucks, and it feels extremely, extremely safe in the territory that it covers. And I also think the writing style is so checklisty. On a song like I Wish Grandpa's Never Died, he says, I wish coolers never ran out of cold Bud Light. And then on a song like Same Old Song, he says, I'll drink these same old Coors and wear these same old boots. I mean, you get the sense that he definitely inserts a lot of just sort of safe opinions about things that generally Southern dudes are gonna like. That could actually be a good alternate name for this album, just safe dude opinions. You know, shouting out football and beer and hunting and the South and trucks. And yeah, those might be true to his experience. Those might be real things that he feels. Those might be things that a lot of people feel. And yeah, that's why they're used in a lot of songs, because they're broadly appealing. But I do think it prevents me from saying this is a great album, because so much of this album seems determined to prove how he's different. I mean, hello, the title is called Different Round Here. How he is different from others as a Southern guy. And I think what great art does is show us how we're all the same, show us how we're unified. I think good art can show us how we're different. Great art shows us how we're all the same. And I think that this album tries a little too hard to prove how it's not the same, and that can make it feel a little bit pandering to me, and not as deep as sometimes it seems. But with that point kind of made about the checklisty writing and the sort of panderingness of the record, I would say that there's still a ton to love here and a ton to feel encouraged by, because I do think this is a solid album. There are some really good hooks on this record. And when I say hook, I mean a catchy melody that sticks in your head that you can sing along with. Same Old Song, for being so checklisty, that song is...
Not this the same old, haunt these same old woods. Wouldn't change.
I mean, I can't even say all the words, but it is so memorable. Even just that melody, it gets stuck in my head. Same with Get That Man a Beer. Same with I Wish Grandpa's Never Died. Same with In Love by Now, which they kicked to the curb as a single in place of I Wish Grandpa's Never Died. And I get why they did that, but I hope it gets a re-release sometime. I think In Love by Now is such a standout track, and that guitar is irresistible to me on that song. Now, there's nowhere on this record that I would say the writing is bad, even if I think it's formulaic. But there are a few places where I think it's really, really excellent. One of those is the song Runnin' with an Angel, which is the only solo write, and I always love solo writes on a record. And this is a song in which Riley is describing himself as a devil that was running with an angel, essentially a girl that was too good for him. I just think there's a lot of good lines in this. He talks about his pride and her passion and her smile and the sunsets and we get real, interesting lyrics. In general, I think when the album goes a little more narrative and a lot less broad, it gets way stronger. That's part of why I think In Love by Now works. On Hard to Leave, which is a sexy song, he's singing about this girl and how it's hard to leave the house. And I actually find him a lot more charming when he's just kind of reflecting on one other person, or just kind of speaking more as an individual and less as a sort of Southern promoter. Numbers on the Cars is a really touching song where Riley is looking at his grandfather and saying, this guy can't remember basic things, but he still knows the numbers on the cars.
Ask the Lord if just one more time he'd bring my old friend back.
Something about watching NASCAR takes him out of his sort of whatever degenerative mental illness this song is about. And I think it's a really touching, beautiful song. I think My First Everything has a really smart chorus in which it's trying to tell off this girl, but ultimately it ends up being an indictment of himself. You were my first love, my first broken heart. That's all you were to me, just my first everything. It kind of twists at the end. I love Get That Man a Beer. I think that's a really clever song. All the specifics in that. There's a guy at a bar from Cartersville, Georgia, who has a bulldog tattoo, right where I gave him a right hook. So much fun words in that.
If you ever get that chance, won't you get that man a beer?
And it's funny. To me, I'm like, oh, this is what Riley could be doing. The album closer, Outlaws Like Us, I think is meant to be a real sort of like, put your lighter in the air, let's all vibe with each other's song. But to me, it's more of that kind of pandering Southern pride thing where he says, we still got pride in the South. We don't let that flag hit the ground. I don't know what that line means, if that's talking about the Confederate flag or the American flag, but that's the one element of Riley's music that I wish he could edit a little better. Because to me, it's not that interesting. I think he actually, the way he sings about breakups and pining after this girl and feeling bad about himself when she's an angel and he's a devil, that stuff's all really interesting. And the least interesting thing to me are the songs that are just about like, I'm a bro from the South. I love Alabama. I love looking around and loving my life right now. I love my truck. That's not the most interesting stuff. And I think there's a lot that is interesting and that sounds awesome about him. So I think he has really good taste, but I guess I just want it to elevate. I want to get out of this kind of pandering thing, and maybe he will. Maybe this is just a debut record that is meant to establish him as someone that is broadly appealing. But I think as he goes on, it would be cool to see how he stretches. My favorite songs are Numbers on the Cars, Get That Man a Beer. I think Same Old Song is just so catchy, even if it's kind of dumb. And In Love by Now, I'll always love that song. So I will give this record like somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7.5. Let's just say a 7 out of 10. And I think it's good, not great. I might even give it like a 6.8. Let's say a 6.8, just to be petty. I'll give it a 6.8 out of 10. And I like it. And I'm excited to see where Riley goes from here. Let me know your thoughts on the album. And I know there's a bunch coming out. I'm going to get to it. Okay, guys. Bye.